Mr. Apoorva Oza, thank you so much for speaking with the CSR genre. At first, I'd like to understand the various verticals you all are involved in.
Okay. The Aga Khan Rural Support Program, which is my organization, is a 30-year-old organization, and we are part of a family of organizations which is called the Aga Khan Development Network. So there is something on housing, there's something on health, there are separate organizations.
Okay.
We are focusing only on rural development, and therefore we work in the states of Gujarat, rural areas of Gujarat, Madhya Pradesh and Bihar.
Okay.
We have about six core what we call verticals.
Okay.
One is the whole vertical on agri-based livelihoods, which is both agri, dairy, goatry, livestock, that whole place. Then we work on the whole issue of drinking water, both quality and access, and sanitation. Okay. Then sanitation is picked up because of Swachh Bharat Abhiyan. It's now become a larger space, but we work on that.
Alright.
Then
Tell me a little bit about the last mile problems, last mile implementation problems that you all have. Because you said you're mainly in the rural area at the very grassroots level. So tell me a little bit about the problems that you all face there.
see, the problems we face largely is of getting professionals to work there, right? Because middle class professionals don't want to work in remote rural areas. That's a reality. So one of the ways we have dealt with the problem is we have a mixed staffing pattern. So we have a few professionals, but a large number of local people whom we train and groom. And we are now finding it to be a fairly good solution because rural India is also getting educated. There are lots of young, bright kids who have not got opportunities.
How have things changed for you after the mandate? Because of course there would have been an increase in cash inflow. So how did things change for you all?
One of the things we had thought and we always believe in as an organization is that because we have not a project approach, we have a largely program approach. So for us, projects may come and go, but if we say that, community women need to be organized.
So it's a long-term
So it's a long-term process. It takes 7 to 10 years to create women's federation. You may have a few donors coming in for 3 years, some may not, but we don't discontinue our work. We somehow get the funding to make sure that the program doesn't suffer.
Okay.
So because of this approach, we always focus, the earlier funding pattern was a lot of international funding, very few corporates, and then we used to get money from the government. Okay. Then we realized that international funding is not going to be the future. And we wanted to anyway have a broader portfolio, a well distributed portfolio. So right now we have about a third, sort of corporates about 35-40%, government is about 35-40%, and international and community contribution contributes that remaining third. So for us it works fine.
So how do you measure the social impact, the ROI on everything that you all do? How do you measure the social impact, the social auditing, how does it work for you?
You see, there are in development, there are three types of impact.
Okay.
So one is what we call the short-term impact. Outsiders, all of us, middle class people, we are at the end of the day, our livelihoods are not impacted by drought. You are not in, you may report or you may support Marathwada, but finally it's the Marathwada people who are suffering.
Yes.
So the solution to any problem always lies in the community themselves, the long-term solution.
Okay.
So we create these women's collectives, we create farmers collectives to understand their own problems and then develop their own solutions to the problems. And we are a catalyst. So we help them, we introduce them to technology, we show them a great village which is doing something better. We do all those sort of stuff.
Okay.
But at the end of the day, they are the masters of their own fate. And so they have to solve it. And therefore we create platforms which help them pool their limited resources and solve the problems.
Okay. Do you think we need to increase solution building patterns, bring about a change, also at the same time find better projects to invest in?
We need to do two things. One is that, as I said inside, is that the corporate world will have to find out tools to measure the softer part or the process part of development. You see, it's very easy to measure a tree planted and a dam built or a school bench given. Those are visible, auditable. So, but if that's all you do, if you don't see the attitude of the teacher, if you don't change the attitude of the parents towards education, if you don't prevent the parents from migrating so that the children are not alone trying to study in a very sort of difficult circumstances, then you don't really change anything.
Okay.
So you need to have projects which take into account the entire context and go at the root causes of the problem. And some of these things take more time.
Okay.
So you need projects which are long term and which measure things like empowerment, like confidence building, as much as they measure things like trees and solar lamps or whatever.
Correct.
So you need to balance that part.
Okay. My last question to you. Can you tell me how corporates can make CSR the corporate's social opportunity?
I think there are three ways in the long term, and I mean let's look at rural India. One of the high growth period which we had in 2004 to 2009 and all that stuff. One of the under heralded part of that growth economy was that if you look at consumer behavior, and very in a sort of a market sense, the growth which took place was largely in rural and peri-urban areas.
Okay.
That growth rate was about at 12-15%. Your metro growth rate was not very great.
Alright.
Bombay didn't actually consume far more.
Okay.
It didn't consume at 8% per annum incremental. This is what took the country ahead. Okay. See, rural economies grow if the agriculture grows and dairy grows.
Yes.
Okay, and rural jobs are created. But that requires investment. It doesn't require subsidy, it requires investment.
Investments.
Rural areas are under-invested areas.
Okay. What does CSR mean to you?
Well, to me, I think a CSR is an opportunity given by the state to help both individuals and corporates express the good intentions every human being has. Everybody wants to do something good. Everybody.
Not only corporate citizen, but it's also common man's social responsibility.
Yeah. So it's I call it is CSR will happen only if ISR will happen.
Which is
individual social responsibility. If a leader feels that I've done enough for myself and I need to give, then he will influence his corporate. Look at what Bill Gates does.
Oh yes.
I mean, who 20 years ago would you have ever imagined Bill and Melinda Gates sitting in a village of Bihar and talking about malnutrition? But he's doing it now. He's doing it with such great passion. Look at the Tatas. Look at everybody. I mean, they have now taken it as a mission, and the organizations are changing around their mission.
Okay.
So, I think CSR allows you that trigger. Okay. Now, how you take it, you want to be superficial and get your auditors to approve it. That's one way. But if you want to be genuine, you can do a lot of good.
Okay. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts and ideas.
Thank you.